It's Vern from VFC Archery. First thing I'll show you is maybe the maple core. I'll just grab that. It's over my shoulder here. This is a considerable number of hours put into this, and this is the maple core. It's actually curved the opposite direction that it will bend. When it's completed, this is how it'll be held. So those limbs are going to come back the other way. It's only about 47 inches long, 5 splices. It's maple wood. It's been bent after being steamed for a couple hours and then put into a form. The ears are made of mulberry. I'll just show you one. That's the ear, and it's spliced, a 4-inch splice. And then the center grip is also maple, spliced, 5-inch splices. And it's hard maple, it's air dried, and you wouldn't use kiln dried wood for this. And like I said, a couple hours to steam it, to put it in a form. And I've got one in a form I'm going to show you in a second. So this is, I don't even know if the whole Hornbow is maybe even 20% complete at this point. And there's a lot of hours that went into this video. I thought I would just kind of show some of the elementary, not really elementary, but some of the first components. These are called sals. This piece is a single piece of wood from here to here. This is called the ear or the saya. This is where the knock will go for the string. The centerpiece is called the grip. I'm not sure what the terminology for that was. It's Turkish Hornbow. This is the Turkish style. From what I've read, and I've read a book on this, and I've looked at a lot of videos, apparently the Turkish bow is the most efficient. This, it's the shortest, it's the most efficient. Draw weights between, well, I mean, as low as you want to go. I think they become effective about 60 pounds, all the way up to 240, 250 pounds, which was never, I don't think, meant to be shot, probably just for training or for bragging rights or something. But the average Turkish bow, 90 to 150 pound draw weight. So this is what the sal looked like before it was bent. So it's a piece of maple, 3/8, and believe me, you can't bend this. So steam is what you need. 2 hours worth. Here's one of the sals in the form. Get a look at that. That's the bend that goes into a piece of wood like that. So, and I use this is just clamped with vinyl C-clamps. Really, you need clamps that can probably exert somewhere around 700-800 pounds to push this down once it's steamed. And I have one, but I guess I'll have to show it in another video. I do have a 1,500 pound clamp too, but that's overkill. But you could never tighten it fast enough with these clamps. You've got like 30 seconds once you pull it out of the steamer. So I'll show the steamer as well in another video. There's a lot to show. I thought I would just kind of start off with just a few things. Also, I'll show you the horn. Water buffalo. This is what was used in the best horn bows. So you can see it's quite curved. It'll be straightened, it'll be steamed for about 10 minutes. Same thing, straightened. This is where the bow gets its compression from. So this is on the belly of the bow. This bends probably about 4 times more than wood. And sinew will be on the front of the bow facing the target, and that bends probably 10 times more than a piece of wood will. So it's kind of a, I'll maybe demonstrate that as I get a little bit closer to finishing the bows, but these are the water buffalo horns. They're the best from what I've read. I've used Gemslock horn from Africa. Doesn't work for me at all. I've had nothing but troubles with it, but I did do one thing with it that turned out really well. You make hornbow shooting rings with them. So I've got a couple here, and they are both made out of Gemslock. One has a leather inside, the other doesn't. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of put them both there, show you kind of what they look like. They both shoot a little bit differently. As you can see, one has a ledge, the other one is more just, this has the ledge right here, but this piece here is more just flat and curved in. I think for heavy weight bows, they needed the leather on them. I've shot this with up to about a 50-pound bow, and you really feel it. I mean, it's a real shock if you shot with a shooting tab and you go to one of these rings. Believe me, there's a real learning curve, and it's far more difficult than I would have ever thought, especially to make them as well as shoot them. But I'll slip them on my finger, just give you a demonstration. Slide it on, twist it. That's what it looks like. I will have the string will end up in this groove. When I grip it, I'll put my finger, index finger over top and tuck my other fingers underneath it. Pull it back and then let it go and get your hand out of the way. It really shocks the hand at first. This one works pretty well, but the leather I think is what you need to protect your hand and your fingers. It's an enormous amount of weight placed on that one joint. So again, slide it on, twist it. You can see the piece of leather there. That's where the string's going to sit, right in there. This is very thick, as you can tell. The other thing about these rings is that when you push it on, it has to go this way, but when you twist it, that locks it in place because of the width of your knuckle. So that's where you get the grip, and it's not going to slide off, or else this ring would just go shooting straight off when you let the bow at full draw, you let it go. So these are a couple things I've made with Gemslock. So I'll show you one more tool here that while I'm doing this video. You got to make one of these. If you're going to do a hornbow, this is what you have to make. I think it's called a tencik, and it's an old ancient tool. It works like a wrench. So you can see there that it's curved here, where it's going to go around the bow. As you put the string, you'll see that it'll thread through here. It'll wrap around, and then it'll go through this hole and come out this end. I'll tie the string on, and then it's used to wrap the string around this way. Consider that I'm moving it a little bit too much. It would go around the bow and tighten the horn to the wood, and works like a charm. It's a great ancient tool, probably used for thousands of years, and boy, I'll tell you, you really get it tight with this. I think it's like, I've heard 200 pounds per square inch, and I was amazed when I learned to use it. But I will say, you're going to need to make a tool like this. Not difficult to make, but you definitely want the hole up at the top so that you can thread it through as you go around. I tried one where I cut it in over the top and it slipped out, and I didn't get quite the result that I wanted, so I altered the tool. Doesn't have to be very long. This is maybe a foot. I've got one that's a little longer. It's more like about 16 inches. Seems to be a little too long. So this is a tool that you would need to make. So if you haven't made laminated bows or self bows, this is not what you want to do. If someone says, hey, you should make a horn bow, or you have that idea, that's something you might have to spend a few years before you get to that point. Also, if you're making a bow that's less than 60 pounds, I've read that it's not worth doing this, because the efficiencies come out of these horn bows at past 60 pounds. So if you're the average person, you can probably draw 40 or 50 pounds. Making a horn bow is just probably going to be a waste of time unless it's something you really want to do. But if you can draw 60, 70 pounds, maybe this is what you need, because I've read that you can draw more weight with one of these because the ears work as a wrench the same way as the tencik did. These ears, when the bow is fully drawn and the stress is placed on the sal, the ears at the end act like a wrench, so it allows you to pull back a little bit more. You don't stack as much as you're pulling it back and letting it go. So I've heard people say, or a couple guys that know more about it than I do, say that you probably draw another 20 pounds of draw weight. So if you can draw a 60-pound bow, you might be able to draw an 80-pound horn bow. And of course you're going to get, feet per second can be over 300 feet per second, equal to any compound bow, or better, as long as the draw weight's higher. From what I've read, I can't imagine what it would be like to shoot a 150-pound bow like this. And the feet per second that you could get off of something like that probably were somewhere in the neighborhood, my guess, of 350, 400 feet per second. I mean, you have to be extremely strong in order to pull that, and depending on how many times you have to pull that. But I mean, that'd be the upper end of some of those Turkish warriors, I guess, that could pull that kind of weight. And if they did it from the age of 4, right through till adulthood, if they lived that long, I'm sure that they could pull something like this. And I find that amazing, and I just hope one of these bows survives. I plan on making probably somewhere around between 5 and 8 of them over a period of a few years. It's a very long process. It'll probably take a year minimum to make one of these. So Vern from VFC Archery.